Welcome back, dear viewers. You're watching The Breakfast Show live on Nile TV International. It's now time for a second topic of discussion for today, and we're going to be talking about the outcome of President Fattah al-Sisi's visit to France and its ramifications. And to shed more light on this topic, we're most delighted to be joined over the phone by Dr.zeinab Nawar, Professor of Economics. Very good morning, Professor, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning.
Doctor, first of all, if you can walk us through the main outcomes of President Fattah al-Sisi's visit to France and his meeting with Emmanuel Macron and, of course, the French foreign minister, a couple of important meetings that were held by President Fattah al-Sisi.
Yes, of course, the meetings between the President Fattah al-Sisi and President Macron. I will talk about the economic outcome of the meetings and the visits. First of all, the support that President had highlighted for the African countries, and especially for Sudan, and how the President is stressing on the important need for the international community to support Africa, especially during this crisis of COVID-19 and all the consequences that the African countries now are suffering from as a result of this crisis. Also, one of the most, I see, it's very important results and economic results of this visit, what is concerning the more attraction of the foreign direct investment to Egypt. The President had a meeting with the finance minister, French finance minister, and also had some meetings with French companies. So this is very important to highlight to the international community and especially to France, that we used to have a very strong relations along several decades. So it would like to attract more companies and more French companies coming to Egypt. So by marketing what had been accomplished and by having a discussion with the minister, the French minister, and with the French companies, this is very important cornerstone related to the economic relations between Egypt and France.
Dr. Zeinab, also in light of the President's statements, what do you think are the challenges currently facing the African continent in light, of course, of the COVID-19, and how can the international community shoulder its responsibility in boosting the African continent's performance?
The main issue of the African countries are poverty, being in high rates of poverty, and this has been unfortunately reflected also during this crisis, that some of the countries, some of the African countries, they are lacking resources to be able to buy the vaccine for their population. And of course, this will mean a disaster for these countries. So what the President is trying to do, and that talking about their issues of poverty, and how the international community could have to support these countries in terms of giving them more financial support. Maybe they give them vaccine in terms of aid, a relief of some of their debts. So when you do such a relief of these debts, so you are creating more surplus in their budget, so they will be able to buy the vaccine and to buy their necessity or their necessary needs to deal with this crisis. Actually, the African countries is now going more into poverty because of lacking the resources, lacking productivity, and of course the lockdown and all this slow that's happening in the economic activities also is affecting Africa. So Africa is a problem during these days, and there should be a lot of support to be provided to it.
Dr. Zeinab, as an economic expert, how do you see the role of Egypt in boosting economic development in the Black continent?
Of course, we have a big role in this, and also we still have a big potential with the African countries. But again, it needs some effort from the African countries themselves to take the chance and to take the benefit of this. If we can remember the effort that the President Fattah al-Sisi had made a few years ago, when he had meetings in Russia and meetings in Germany, and also he asked a lot of African companies to join And also the president started to talk about Africa and their need for growth and their need for development. And he had opened a discussion about Africa with different presidents, European presidents at this time. So all of this, this is the role of Egypt to support Africa. Also, the African countries, and through a lot of meetings that the president had made here in Egypt, and asking different African presidents to come, where the president had talked about our experience in economic reform and what we had done in terms of the reform of policies and regulations, so they can also benefit from this. And of course, here in Egypt, we share our experience, and we share our experience, what we had gone through with them. So all of these are chances to these African countries. Also, you have some Egyptian companies working in Africa and different projects. So maybe more projects targeted into Africa. This is the thing that we can do here if we talk about Egypt. More sharing of experience and more sharing of successful experiences, and what the president actually is doing everywhere when he just having meetings with different presidents and ministers around the world, is talking about the African issues and African problems. I think this is a big support that has been provided to them.
Dr. Nawar, moving on to bilateral ties between Egypt and France, to what extent do you see the president's visit to France can be exploited in increasing the volume of trade and exchange and the economic ties between the two countries?
Of course, we have a strong bilateral relations between Egypt and France. It has been strong since decades, and a lot of support that we used to, in terms of economic support, that we used to receive from France, and we have some French companies, also very successful French companies, working here in Egypt. So this visit, of course, it's creating more strong ties with the French partners, because it's very important also again that the president had talked about our effort here in Egypt to conduct the economic reform. So, and shedding light about the different reforms that had been done and the projects and all the equipment had been done lately. So, of course, this will encourage French companies at least to start thinking or studying the potential of the Egyptian market, and if they would like to come and to invest. And of course, all of these visits and meetings between President Fattah Sisi and Macron, and President Fattah Sisi and the Ministry of Finance, this is very important also to creating more ties, and also to encourage, if we talk about on the political level, because in politics it drives economics in a way or another. So this, of course, will encourage the policymakers in France to support whatever investor would like to come to Egypt. At least there is some sort of, what we say that they are encouraging them for any French company that would like to come and to invest in any strategic project. So at least there is support from their government there from France, and of course there will be a hell of support here from Egypt, given what had been done and what had been achieved, and given also the meetings that the president had conducted with some French companies there. So there is a support, a huge support from the Egyptian government for this, and there is a strong will from the Egyptian side. And of course, all of this will boost the economic performance and will play a role in attracting more foreign direct investors.
Indeed, Dr. Zeinab Nawar, Professor of Economics, we really appreciate your insight and for joining us on The Breakfast Show. And dear viewers, by this we come to the end of today's episode. Just a quick recap of what we discussed. We talked about Egypt's digital transformation and its role, the role of this transformation in improving the health sector and the health services provided to Egyptians. And we also talked about the outcome of President Fattah Sisi's visit to France. Dear viewers, you're in the company of myself, Karim Gamaluddin, and my colleague Dina Hussein. Until we meet again, this is goodbye. you.